Are you sheltering in place, isolated, feeling alone? Well, then you're just like us.
Hit me.
From Studio P in Sausalito, the home of the quarantined hit, it's time for... Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And now, here's your host for this episode, Marc Hershon.
Marc Hershon.
Thank you, Bill Heywatt. Holy cats, we're back after what may have been the shortest hiatus in Soundcast history. Hello, welcome. I'm Marc Hershon, this show's original host, then executive producer, and now sort of co-host for Season 4 of what we're now calling Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package. First off, if you're wondering what's happened to host Tyson Sainer, worry not. He'll be here in a moment so we can have a little chat to fill you in on what our plan is for this crazy locked down Season 4. And he'll be back every other week, switching off with me to bring you a fresh batch of Succotash, meaning clips from a wide variety of comedy soundcasts and also some interviews, each and every week. That's our plan anyway. You can see how we do and rate us appropriately on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, the Laughable app, and anywhere else fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded. Before we bring Tyson in, let me tell you what soundcasts we'll be featuring this episode. We've got clips from the Ron Burgundy Podcast, Shooter's Gotta Shoot, the Cannon Canon, and the Monster Party Soundcast. Plus, somewhere in the middle of all that, we have a quick revisit with Phil Leirness, co-host of the Chillpak Hollywood Hour. If you're thinking you just heard from Phil, you're right. He was the last guest of the last episode of the previous season of Succotash. Oh, by the way, this episode is also sponsored by Henderson's Pants Turtleneck Slacks. Let's get Succotash co-host Tyson Sainer in here, and then we'll get to our bouquet of fragrant Soundcast clips. I'm speaking with the Succotash former host, now co-host, in a sense, or bi-hosts, or duo hosts, Tyson Sainer. Hello, Tyson.
Hello.
Well, I thought we were going on hiatus.
That was my understanding.
And then we got stuck in quarantine.
Quarantine, yes. I think this is a first in my lifetime, having this kind of situation occur.
That's what led us to this brainstorm of resurrecting Succotash before the body was even cold. Joe Polino, our engineer, is on board. We've got Bill Heywatt back out of mothballs already. Doesn't even have the stink on him yet. First of all, Tyson, congratulations. We've made it to Season 4.
Thank you. Congratulations to you as well.
But for Season 4, we're introducing this as Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package.
I like that.
I believe you may have talked a little bit about this in episode 200. The reasoning for this is that the listenership, since the isolation has begun to fall.
Soundcasts in general.
Yes. 3 weeks ago, it was down 8%. My assumption, understanding is it has fallen more. I think we can look at the idea that people are not engaging in their usual activities that they would normally be listening to soundcasts. They're not out jogging, biking, driving to work, riding the subway, riding the bus, what have you. And one would think, well, they're at home. They could listen to all the soundcasts they want. But that's not happening. So,
yes.
As Succotash was originally conceived, it was to increase the popularity of comedy soundcasts. And now it seems like, gosh darn it, the industry needs us again, Tyson.
Well, who were we not to attempt to step up to the plate to fill that role?
Yes, as the saying goes, many are called but few are chosen. I like to think we've been chosen. Of course, we've chosen ourselves. But I think that's relevant.
I would agree.
So here's the plan. Again, our conversations will be brief because the new version of Succotash Shut-In will be brief. We are going to be attempting to present half-hour programs once a week, dropping regularly, shooting for Tuesdays, and Tyson and I will switch off hosting duties so we can manage all the work that it takes to wrangle Soundcast clips and interviews. We'll still continue to do those, but they'll all be under the one blanket title of Succotash Shut-In, because the people we interview will also be in a similar boat. We will attempt to provide perhaps 3 to 4 clips per half-hour show, or an interview by itself, or a short interview and a clip or 2. We'll see how it all fits in. There's no set format beyond that. I'm pretty excited about helping people out, and I think this is a way to let them listen to, as we always have, a sampling of comedy soundcasts that are out there, and allowing them to figure out what would they like to listen to more.
Absolutely. It gives them a bit of a direction, perhaps. A place, if they found us, then we're giving them at least 3 other choices they could be listening to. So,
Tyson, you've been hosting the show now for several years and doing a fairly long format as I did, and so this will be a little bit different for both of us. Any anticipation going into that particular change?
I like the idea of bringing in something that's kind of I don't want to say a micro version, but definitely I think it's a new beast. It's a Succotash Junior kind of thing. You know, it's like the Junior Bacon Cheeseburger is to the Bacon Cheeseburger, or the whatever it is. It's still basically the same thing. There's just less of it.
Indeed. Although there's more of it, because we've been presenting shows almost once a month for a while, and now we're going to be doing once a week.
Oh, that's true, yes. So it'll be both less and more.
Both less and more. And the reason we're not calling it Succotash Junior is because people might think it's for their kids. We are also going to, for the first time ever, try to actually get real sponsors for the show.
Wow.
And why not? We're both, like everybody else, sort of tremulous what may come in terms of income and how long things will extend and things like that. So if we literally now need to raise money to keep the lights on. Mm-hmm. Before it was all basically coming out of my pocket. And through the good graces of Tyson, who is hosting for an honorarium, it's high time that he get paid for his services. So we'll be beating the bushes to find some sponsors. And we're looking forward to bringing you the all-new Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package.
Hear, hear. And listen, listen.
Very good. So there you go. Tyson and I will be doing our part to help fan the flame of soundcasting during these uncertain times by giving you a place to listen in on a few minutes of some specially curated content. Then it's up to you to decide if you want to start downloading full episodes of those shows for your own listening pleasure. Let's get into the clips. First up, Will Ferrell is now into his 2nd season, reprising the role of Ron Burgundy, made famous from the Anchorman movies, in an iHeart radio production called the Ron Burgundy Podcast. Assisted by his ever-suffering assistant, Carolina Barlow, it seems that Ron may never quite realize that this isn't actually a radio show that he's doing. He frequently has guests on, some real, some fictional, but in a recent episode entitled From Lassie to Jesus, he and Carolina have the studio to themselves, and Ron is set to tell us all about the top 10 people he'd like to meet in heaven. Our clips from the top of the show, just because I find Ferrell so funny even before he gets to the premise of the show. Here you go.
Hello, podcast listeners. My name is Ron Burgundy, and I'm an exceptional man. About a year ago, another wonderful man named Mitch Palbon came out with a very popular book called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And although I didn't read the book, it was a big-time bestseller. I prefer saucier stuff when I read. I like historical novels about lords and ladies and bawdy wenches and swordplay. I do. I like swordplay in my fiction, and I like comely lasses, too. I also like thought-provoking literature about the Roman times. I'm a bit of a scholar when it comes to the Roman times. Did you know that they didn't refer to the Roman times as the Roman times in the Roman times? They didn't. They called them the now times, just like we do now. Isn't that funny? Oh, yes.
Ron.
Yes, Carolina is here as always. She's my partner in crime for these entertaining talkie talks we do called podcasts. Hello there, old friend.
Were you going to tell people what today's show is all about?
Nonsense. It's about nonsense, like it is every week. I'm going to talk and talk and talk until it's all over, and then I'm going to walk to my car, take a nap in my car, and then drive to a supermarket and get a bottle of scotch. From there, I'll head home so I can lounge on my balcony in the nude, drinking scotch until I pass out. At some point, I will eat a steak.
You told me there was a theme to today's show, though.
I did? Oh, so I did. It was the book by Mitch Gablon called 5 People You Gotta Meet in Heaven. Well, guess what, Carolina? We are going to beat this Ganton guy, and we're going to talk about not 5, but 10 people I would like to meet in heaven. That's twice what that guy talked about.
So today's episode is going to be about the 10 people we would like to meet in heaven?
That's right. And I think everyone has a short list of people throughout history that they would like to meet when they finally get to heaven. I mean, don't you, Carolina?
I don't know. I don't make one.
You probably could make. I mean, let's be clear. Heaven's not just going to be about meeting people. There will be tennis courts and poolside bars with all-you-can-eat buffets with tacos and make-your-own ice cream sundaes. There will be movie nights and meet-and-greet socials and Katie Hawkins dances. And let's not forget world-class...
Is that Sadie Hawkins dance, you mean?
Yeah, Sadie or Katie. Depends on what part of the country you're from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, let's not forget, in heaven, there's going to be world-class entertainment along with 24/7 gaming rooms and the beds. Don't get me started on the beds. The thread count on the sheets in heaven will be simply the best. I'm guessing Egyptian cotton. I'm maybe Macy's, or maybe they get a discounted Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe the angels make the sheets in heaven. You know what, Carolina?
What?
You just don't know. You don't. That's what I know. You just don't know. You don't know much about heaven except that it will be pure luxury. Oh, Carolina, you know what I would love to have in my bathroom up in heaven?
No.
One of those shower nozzles that hits you like 35 different ways, right in the butthole and the donker. I've always wanted one of those. How about you? What kind of shower would you like in heaven?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I mean, I guess I would like it to work when I turn it on.
And
I guess it would be great if the hot water didn't cut out all of a sudden.
Oh, come on, Carolina. Dream a little. It's heaven we're talking about.
I mean, I like good water pressure.
But what about 35 jets of high-power water hitting your boobies and your butt?
Sure. I guess I would like that.
Now we're talking, huh?
There's a taste of the Ron Burgundy Podcast available from the source, iHeart Radio, as well as Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and most other Soundcast outletteries. The Shooter's Gotta Shoot Soundcast features comedian Erica Spira and businesswoman Molly DeMillier, both former NCAA athletes who know how to get what they want, except, according to the show's official website, when it comes to men. Telling it like it is, with a generous dollop of humor thrown in, they explore the complicated, frustrating, and bizarre realities of dating as headstrong 20-something women in New York City. And they have guests. Recently, that included comedian Francis Ellis, whom you can also catch on Soundcast's Barstool Sports and Bro Bible, who came on to discuss the 5 love languages. In this clip, they're talking about rings.
The way that this is going is, I can help you make this better.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, that's just a dagger in the heart.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I know someone who she put conditions on, like, when it happened, because, like, where she was working at the time, like, basically she knew this proposal was coming, right?
Yeah,
and so she was like,
this
something. Yeah, and she was like, this month for me is insane, and she was like, please just, like, don't make it at this time, like, let it be when we get through this stuff. And that was it, because she was like, basically, I can't start planning a wedding when I have all this other shit I need to do.
Yeah,
I was like, I think that's fair.
Or my college roommate just got engaged, and she actually was someone, she gave absolutely no things on the ring. She was like, clearly you know my taste by now. I've been together like 4 years, 5 years. And she also was like, because I didn't want to say something, and then they go and like the price tag of the thing, and then I was like, oh, that looks nice, was insane. Like, she was like, that's fully up to you. That's your gift to me, and whatever you want to do and are comfortable. And then she said the same thing of me. If she was like, if and when that happens, I would like it to be just us two, and we have like a moment and maybe a day or two that like not everybody knows, and it's just us. But a big thing was he wanted to propose at a certain time, and then his mom was like, you can't propose till after your brother's wedding. Like, he was like, you can't take any thunder away. So this guy actually had a ring for like much longer, but it was like the mom was just like, if you're at the wedding and everyone's asking you about your engagement and stuff, and she's like, it's not that your brother would care, but it's just a little bit rude. Like, it kind of was like, wait till their whole marriage train is kind of done and the attention's off them to be like, okay, now everyone can be like, oh, congrats to...
Do you guys agree with that that's rude, though, for them to show up to a wedding engaged?
Oh, it's definitely rude if you get engaged, like, after wedding weekend.
Oh, yeah, but,
insane.
like, say, like, 3 months before you show up with a ring, it's like, are people really going to care? Or are they just going to be happy for everybody?
If it was my wedding, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But I understood the mom's perspective of being like, let's just have a little break.
Yeah.
Maybe indirectly the mom was just like, we're just about to spend a lot of money. Give us a little bit of time.
That could be.
Between the next one.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? Like, do you feel like the girl shouldn't even be like, I like a square cut or a circle cut or whatever they are?
That's a great question. That is a great question.
Because shouldn't you feel like, I know you enough by now, I would know what you like?
And also, they cost differently based on cut a little bit, right?
But hold on a second. All of that is neither here nor there, because what you just said is, in and of itself, a paradox. How can you know what someone wants for a ring preference without asking them?
True.
And then they give you the answer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
You said, like, is it okay for a girl to say, I want a square cut or a solid, whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or should the guy just know?
Well,
it's like, how the hell would I know without asking?
Well, some people are offended even with, like, Christmas gifts if you were like, this is what I would like. Some people some people just like to be like, I thought of this thing fully me, and it's my gift.
I think there's a line.
Yeah.
I think it's like, okay, if you shouldn't go fucking ring shopping together.
A lot of people do that.
See, a lot of people do.
I don't think that you should go into a store and do that. Mm-hmm. But if you were to say, well, like, what do you think about this ring or whatever, and you were able to glean a sense of what she might like.
Yeah.
But in the end too, like, I hate to say this,
you can have your opinion as much as you want.
I just think, like, if you spend $30,000 or more on a ring, she's gonna be happy. Which is why I think the whole thing is bullshit.
Well, you think that, but I mean,
let's put it this way, right?
Not?
I do a joke about this where I say, like, the woman always gets the ring, and then they always say he did such a good job.
Yeah.
Which to me is so stupid, because all doing a good job really means, like, I've never heard a woman who received a $50,000 ring be like, I wish he had done it a little better, or like put in more effort, or listened to me more. The only people who are like not doing a good job, I assume, are people who just aren't spending enough.
Available everywhere your finer soundcasts show up. Grab yourself a serving of Shooter's Gotta Shoot. By the way, and just so you know, we'll never leave you hanging here at Succotash. You can visit our home site at succotashshow.com, where you'll find a bloggish rundown of the shows we're featuring in this episode. You can click on their titles to get to their home sites, and click on the host names to check out their Twitch streams. So how about that? We'll be back with a quick mini chat with Phil Leirness, co-host of the Chillpak Hollywood Hour, with TV's Dean Haglund, and he also brings you the Los Angeles Breakfast Club on the Air Soundcast. We've also got a couple of more Soundcast clips, but first, this important message from one of our fine sponsors.
This portion of Succotash is brought to you by Henderson's Turtleneck Slacks. If you're a gentleman of proportion who tends to leave nothing to the imagination whenever you squat down, or if you've ever been mistaken for a bike rack just by bending over to tie your shoe, maybe it's time to consider checking out a pair of Henderson's Turtleneck Slacks. Where most pants end at the waistline, Henderson's Turtleneck Slacks are just getting started. You get a generous 3 inches of ribbed cotton fabric that both gives and supports where it counts, the gut and buttocks. What's more, there's no need to worry about whether your belt matches your shoes. With Henderson's Turtleneck Slacks, you just pull them up and forget them. The ingenious turtleneck waist keeps your pants in place, and even if you have to jump around, we guarantee you'll never show anything so much as an inch of butt crack or a sliver of that ample full moon. It's always tucked away, safe and sound, in your Henderson's Turtleneck Slacks. Originally designed for plumbers, construction workers, and priests, you can now pick up a pair of Henderson's Turtleneck Slacks wherever fine pantaloons are sold. And now, back to Succotash. This episode of Succotash is sponsored in part by TrumPoetry.com, a chronological ode to a fake muse. Enjoy a rhyming spin on the news of the day every day, as well as over 500 archived daily verses thoroughly covering the White House, America, and the world with a sticky caramel coating that's impossible to remove. That's TRUMPoetry.com. Everything you need to know in rhyming couplets. TrumPoetry.com.
Joining me now is the last guest of Season 3 of Succotash, Phil Leirness.
Yes, Mark, the first guest of Season 4, and for a very simple reason. Tyson Sainer didn't tell me that I could go home.
Well, you'll be free right after this, so sorry to keep you. This is kind of a surprise, actually, Season 4. We knew we were coming back in some way, shape, or form. We thought it would be months from now. And instead, it's 2 weeks after the conclusion of the last episode, which you were on.
But this is what Netflix does, right? I mean, Netflix takes these shows like Full House, like Succotash, and brings you a new season that you didn't know you wanted, let alone needed.
That's right. So this is a bit of a reboot for Succotash, mainly because I'm coming back as co-host of the show. And Tyson and I are going to switch off every other episode to make sure we can bring it to people on a once-a-week basis, which Succotash has never delivered on that promise since we started.
I like that you were away from hosting duties just long enough for the facelift to settle. I mean, seriously, you come back looking 15 years younger.
Thank you. I also had a vocal cord lift, which doesn't show, but hopefully you can hear it in my voice.
Oh, my goodness. You were actually going to need calf implants to be able to lift those vocal cords.
Ouch.
I don't even know what that means. This has gone so wrong.
It has.
That sound you hear is people seeking out different podcasts.
That's which we're providing them the samples. They can figure out which ones to go see. See how that works?
Good.
Exactly.
Yes.
Anyway, folks can hear Phil Leirness on the Chillpak Hollywood Hour with Dean Haglin, and also the LA Breakfast Club on the air.
Yes, the Los Angeles Breakfast Club on the air. That's a little bit of a love letter to me. It's to me. It's a love letter from me to me. I've been in lockdown quite a while. And you focus on the things you love in lockdown. Yeah. So a lot of letters that I've written, Dear Phil, just touching base. All right. No, the Los Angeles Breakfast Club on the air is, perhaps has a more limited appeal than Chillpak Hollywood Hour, which Dean and I have been doing for 13 years now. But the Breakfast Club is almost 100-year-old organization, really a cornerstone pillar responsible for making Los Angeles into the major city that it is. And we explore that history and the present day happenings and both the historic and present day colorful characters that comprise the one and only democracy of ham and eggs. You've been there, you know, there really isn't anything like it unless you've seen a production of A Prairie Home Companion directed by David Lynch. That would be pretty much
and with breakfast being served, which I don't think they ever did.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's a fantastic operation and organization. Been around for years. I've been there a couple times and enjoyed my visits. You've had this podcast going for a couple of years now, and my question to you, sir, is if you ever have an opening for the announcer, I wouldn't mind stepping in.
Mark, you've been the announcer.
Oh, well, I have to tell you, this shutdown has not only affected you.
Mark, you've always been the announcer and the caretaker.
Oh, dear. Well, Phil, I just want to take a few moments. I know you're a busy, busy man, and welcome back to Succotash as our guest.
It's as if I never left. It does beg the question, how can we miss you if you won't go away? But you can answer that on a future show.
I'll do it. Phil, thanks very much. Continued success with all that you do. Got a brand new soundcast for you by a couple of UCBers, Frank Garcia-Hale and Jeff Garlock, called the Cannon Canon. No, it's not about the TV series Cannon, featuring William Conrad as a generously proportioned PI that ran from 1971 to 76. Instead, these guys are going to deconstruct every movie that was produced by Cannon Films. They kick it off with a deep dive into Death Wish 2, starring Charles Bronson, and along for the ride is actor pal Noah Segan. Here's a clip where they get into some of the nit and the grit of that movie.
Well, let's get into the biggest problem of this movie, which is the first quarter. I think
the fact that there are 3 rape scenes that are also they go on way too long.
It is I Spit on Your Grave. It really
is. It's brutal.
It's the biggest.
So
it's why this one out of all of them. Beyond that, the second half just becomes kind of a Death Wish movie. But it's just a little boring. It's just more boring than the other ones. But the first quarter, you have to deal with what you said. It's not just. He doesn't need to be this overly justified to be him. We know he's champing at the bit to shoot people.
Right.
We already in the first one watched his daughter get assaulted to the point where she's like a mute, and his wife get killed in front of the daughter, and her husband left her. And now in this one, they're like, but also let her get assaulted again. She has to
go through it again.
We have to watch the poor housekeeper get a long assault.
So here's the fucked up part about that is the actor Silvana Gallardo. Mm-hmm. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. If she's listening,
I'm sure
it took 6 days to shoot that scene.
Oh my god,
6 days.
Lawrence Fishburne couldn't get it together.
Oh god,
spoiler. He's in that.
Well, the thing is though, because the actors felt so bad about it that they would cover up.
Sure,
the director would yell cut because those scenes are so fucked up and disturbing. I hated watching, having to sit through
the worst part about that particular stat, 6 days, is that there was a weekend probably somewhere in there.
This is what we need as a professional actor. We need this input because I love
they might have been on. They might have been on 6-day weeks. Who knows? Which is a real thing. But
I doubt. They
shot it in a very. Yeah, I forgot the actual shoot. It was I think a month and a half. I don't know. And she said it was grueling. To have to. It's of course because it's so fucking disturbing.
Right.
And then it's just so gross with the daughter in that scene, and then followed by her just jumping out of the window and
she gets assaulted. So that woman gets assaulted very long.
Yeah,
and then the daughter gets kidnapped.
Yeah,
she's already a mute. She gets brought to somewhere, gets assaulted again, escapes, jumps out a window, lands on a spiked fence. And then you're like, ugh, at least all the assaults are done.
Nope.
Nah, let's shove one more in. Get a poor woman in a parking garage and still get her half naked.
Yeah,
and it's that's where to me that's Michael Winner. It's just dude.
Who was it that said? Was it somebody had said this movie was just so that those scenes were so repugnant he just did that to get his rocks off, or
right?
Yeah, I forgot who.
Which
said
feels
that.
And he was just I don't know. It's just another one. It's the same thing as we did in Death Wish 1. He's just so blasé about it all whenever he talks about it. But it's just hard to get through those. They're very.
Do you think there's a chance that and just I'm thinking to myself how mentally and spiritually, emotionally damaged Paul Kersey is, Bronson's character. Do you think that there's a possibility that that's what those moments were designed to do?
Considering there are at least 46 more films in the Cannon Canon, these guys are going to be kept busy for about a year if they drop one episode a week. We round out this first episode of our 4th season of Succotash with not just a personal favorite, but one of the only soundcasts around that actually likes having me on as a guest, Monster Party, featuring a quartet of hosts including comedian, writer, longtime friend of the Tash, and a personal pal of mine, Matt Weinhold, as well as Sean Sheridan, Larry Stroth, and James Gonis, fine gentlemen all. This show was born out of the host's love for all things horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and all-around nerd-tastical, conceived when they sat around drinking in a shared hotel room at the San Diego Comic-Con many years ago. It's that same kind of discussion, but in soundcast form. Episodes can run 2 to 3 hours, usually with a guest, where they proceed to drink and discuss movies and TV shows around various themes. I recently was invited back for my second visit, this time via Zoom, thanks to COVID-19, and the theme was hexes, spells, and curses. Here's how part of that went.
I'm going to go with something more modern, but is loaded with magic, is Doctor Strange.
Hey, absolutely. Yeah.
2016, and it's just loaded with magic and spells and everything you can imagine in terms of how you bring magic to the modern screen.
Yeah, and especially that kind of Steve Ditko 60s, 70s look and color from the comic book. I thought they did a good job of translating that to the screen.
Yeah, and they do a great job making this world of magic. Everything from the the cloak that just sort of floats on its own. I mean, they talk about using CGI in just a perfect way.
In a smart way. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's superimposed. It's subtle, where it needs to be. It's obvious where it needs to be. And just, the scenes where they're running and doing that Inception effect with the city turning in on itself and all of that stuff.
Really cool.
Yeah, very effective movie, I thought.
I do love the hand gesture magic things that they do, the weird halos.
Yeah.
Which are like right from the comic.
Yes, the magic shields and stuff.
Yeah, to see that stuff come to life.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And I like the stuff that they end up doing with his character in the the Avengers films, like Endgame and Infinity Wars. When you see him in action,
I wish he'd be a little less funny. That's my only.
Yeah. It's almost like he's a character that could have been the straight man, to the comic. Like he didn't. You're right. He didn't need to be doing the one-liners really.
He could have been. He could have been more of a Vincent Price kind of funny.
Yeah. You're right. But still.
And they gave him the, I forget the actor's name, but the guy that was a monk who kind of has all the kind of funny lines.
Yeah. He's in everything, by the way, that guy.
They could have made him the kind of comic relief guy, right? And Cumberbatch's American accent is funny because it's not very flexible. And there's a few scenes in there where you can definitely hear him pushing to try and make that work. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
But he's got a great voice. I mean, I love that.
Oh, it's
voice.
terrific.
It kind of adds, I think, to it.
Visually, he's perfect for it. Yeah.
Oh, he's great. He's great. Anyway, so that's one of the best modern kind of how does magic
Benedict
work?
Wong.
Yeah, Benedict Wong.
Yes, that's him.
Yeah. He's good.
Stuff.
And a good double feature would be Dr. Mordred.
Jeffrey Combs.
Written by our friend C. Courtney Joyner.
Nice.
Starring Jeffrey Combs, friend of the show. And I think the idea was to make a Doctor Strange movie.
At one time, yeah, right.
Yeah. And, I'm sure they had trouble with the rights, but that's a really fun movie, and it moves right along. I think the effects for the limited budget.
Yeah, for the Empire or Full Moon Productions, low budget.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Combs is great.
Yeah, he is great. And what I like, too, is the idea that, you got this magician living down the hall from you. You're like, what's his deal? And I love there's some great stop motion, and it's just a lot of fun.
That's a smidgen of Monster Party, which you can get at monsterparty.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and so many more outlets you'll just have to poke around on your own. And that's it. The first episode of the new season of Succotash Shut-In is complete. Here's hoping you enjoy your new shorter format and that you'll take the time to check out some, if not all, of the soundcasts we've sampled for you here. And same as before, if you are a comedy soundcaster and would like us to feature a clip from your show, you can take the initiative and upload a 3 to 5 minute swatch of your program directly to us by going to hightail.com/u, that's the letter U, /Succotash, and we'll get it right here. We're looking for a nice sponsor or two to help us offset the cost of production and streaming Succotash, so if you know of anyone or are anyone who is interested, please contact me directly at MARC, that's Mark, at succotashshow.com. We will also likely be putting our PayPal donation button back up soon, a link to our Succotashery for some merch, and maybe even a Patreon page in the very near future. In lieu of donations, and until we meet again, I will remind you to tell your friends about us by simply passing the Succotash. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package, with your host, Marc Hershon. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants, TrumPoetry.com, and
Imagine your company's name right here.
Find us on the web at SuccotashShow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on the Laughable app, and tattooed on your mother's rear end. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at marc@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212. You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our hosts are Marc Hershon and Tyson Sainer. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is still Kenny Durgis. And until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Heywatt, reminding you to please wash your hands and pass the Succotash. Goodbye. This has been a Succotash Patch production.